Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting night of Golden Hammer Gaming Overwatch. Today we are having a bit of a legacy match between Steve and Brugger going on right now. It will be Group Therapy against Siege. Siege will be in the blue, Group Therapy is in the red, and it will be Busan starting us off. You just see the comps that these teams are going to be running out on. Should be an interesting match tonight, and I will do my best to give you all the action. Where we're here in Golden Hammer Gaming 1. Golden Hammer Gaming 2 is also streaming tonight. We do actually have 4 matches going on tonight, so there is lots of Overwatch to be made aware of. Looks like coming out on comps, there is going to be a Reinhardt Brawl comp with May coming out from Group Therapy. And it looks like there might be Pharah coming out from Siege, but you know, whoever knows whenever they're in spawn.
Round 1. Capture the objective.
It looks like it will be the Pharah coming out from Siege. So both teams coming out onto the point. The Sigma Roadhog coming out here from Siege is a very interesting comp, whereas pretty standard rush comp coming out here from and it will be the first point. Both teams just fighting for positioning. It will be Group Therapy taking the high ground, while Siege sits on point. A very nice engage coming in from Group Therapy. Group Therapy immediately getting kill on a Reinhardt. A nice leap onto Frenzy there, though, from the Ana. Pharah is getting free range with no fight, but ooh, Mercy getting the res on a Reinhardt. This does advantage Siege now. However, Group Therapy is taking point. Siege with 2 huge kills on both supports for Group Therapy, and it will be Group Therapy, however, taking the point. We'll see how long they'll be able to hold with Siege having the absolute numbers advantage, and it will be Siege eventually taking over the point and setting up cap, only giving up about 10%. That's probably worth for them. We will see the McCree swap coming up here from Group Therapy, most likely to try to deal with that Pharah that was just getting free damage out in the sky. We will see how Group Therapy plans to engage against this Pharah comp. We are seeing them running out of their spawn onto the left side there, trying to push onto the Sigma. Missed hook there from Reinhardt, a huge nade from Mangone. And it will be, however, Brugger going down. An early pickup advantage here for Group Therapy. Res, however, by Mangone. Res by killing the Mormon. This is now a tank line advantage here coming in for Group Therapy. And Res by getting 2, however, with Claw dying again, the supports are not staying alive very well for Group Therapy right now. Stick attempt coming up from Evilzer, not able to get it, and killed by Frenzy for reference. However, Rose kills Clever Tribe. And it will look like Group Therapy is able to swap the point over. However, Rose with a late Pharah barrage kills 2. This could be turnable here for Siege. However, Steve is able to kill Rose, and it looks like Group Therapy will take this point. However, it looks like Siege is not really to give it up yet. We see a huge on-and-a Mormon killing Steve and getting the res. A huge turnaround here from Siege off of the back of that Sigma ult and that res. And it will be a cleanup coming here from Siege. Reinhardt with 2 late kills, and you know, giving up about 40% capture prep, probably worth it for Siege. However, it will be Group Therapy coming out with a whole trunk of ultimates, 4 of them available, whereas, you know, none of the ultimates here available for Siege are all that impactful. They do have both their support ults, which can potentially turn fights, and, you know, the Roadhog ultimate for lots of damage. However, none of those are really fight-winning on their own. Meanwhile, most of the ultimates that are coming out here for Group Therapy are massive and able to turn fights. And you'll see how they engage once again. Group Therapy going down the same route once again. Not hit by an on-nade this time. An early Coalescence and an early res coming out. Or, sorry, Valkyrie coming out. This is not 2016 anymore. Both teams exchanging support ultimates. Will be the Sigma ultimate coming out now. Trying to gather up the team. It looks like both teams just kind of exchanging ultimates to damage right now. Reinhardt, however, gets the first kill on the Respite. A second kill with 3 kills with the whole hug. An excellent play there by Reinhardt. And it looks like it will be Siege once again picking up the map win. And the fight win, and potentially even the map win here at 90%. It will require some last-minute attempts here by Group Therapy to touch. You see Clever Tribe going over onto the Hamster and Respite onto the Diva just to try to touch. However, Respite is able to touch. Sorry, Clever Tribe is able to touch. However, not for very long as we see Siege collapse onto their opponents. However, Group Therapy is going to, and the Reaper ult coming out. Does get a kill onto the Pharmacy. Frizzy with the 3 kills. This could be the turning point here for Group Therapy. Respite gets DMX. However, Group Therapy is getting a ton of value. Is able to kill pretty much everybody here on point. Evils are just trying to hold it out for the team at this point. However, it does look like the point will be moving over to Group Therapy. An excellent last-minute take. Siege you know, will be coming up on their two biggest fight-winning ultimates. However, they have the Gravitic Flux, and they do have the Barrage coming out. And Respite is still demech. So this is an opportunity for Siege to come in and potentially turn this fight very quickly and take this map. The Pharah there just going for some early poke damage. Cleftrid's still on the ball. You just see the Sigma ult coming up, picking up a couple. And Frizzy does get the kill on Mormon. An early advantage here. And Rose with the double kill, with the triple kill. You never quadruple kill. Quick triple kill. Rose just kills everybody. An excellent play by the Pharah. No answer to it. And it does look like this map will be going over onto our Pharmacy attacking side. Or I guess not attacking side. An excellent, amazing Pharah ultimate there at the end that by Rose. That was an excellent play. Not really an ultimate you expect to get a lot of value out of. Definitely not an ultimate you expect to live through. However, just a lot of support was there for the team, and it will be the map going over to Siege.
Ready for battle.
The next Busan map coming in here will be Mecha Base, and we will see what adjustments we will see from Group Therapy in order to try to deal with this Pharah, or if indeed they feel they have to. Oh, sorry, this is not Mecha Base. This is Down Tap. And so it's very likely we'll continue to see the Pharah coming out of here from Siege. It is an excellent Pharah map as well. And we'll see if D on the Ash now will be able to answer it. Other than that, it looks like Group Therapy running it with that same Reinhardt Rush comp, while the Roadhog and Sigma is still coming out here from Siege. Rhodes with that early Pharah damage. That Pharah gets a lot of free value and doesn't really get contested. It's coming up on Steve to really put some pressure onto that Pharah. Either that, or they're going to have to completely run to the front line. However, right now, Steve with the pickup onto Evilzer, and you don't use expect the Ash to get those. A res attempt and a huge nade coming down, and it is advantage right now onto Siege. With Rose still getting that free spam onto the back. However, Group Therapy has taken the point, and will be able to use that pressure into capture progress. An excellent play, focusing on the objective. However, they are completely surrounded on the high ground. Reinhardt drops down, goes for the hook attempt, not able to find anything. Frizzy, however, they both teams straight out with Sigma. Rose gets a double kill. You don't answer that Pharah. Eventually, the Pharah will get damaged. Rose killing 3. There are no tanks alive for Siege. However, Group Therapy going low in next excellent Bionade. And it looks like it will be Siege winning this fight. However, the Group Therapy is not willing to go at the point yet. With Rose, however, getting another 2K, it will be a point going over onto Siege. But 25% taken by Group Therapy. Coming up on the Coalescence, where Siege has 4 ultimates. Siege should be able to hold this. Well, Group Therapy, not really coming up on that many impactful ultimates. Coalescent, a nice ultimate, but not a fight winner all on its own. We've seen how deadly Rose can be with that Barrage. It's really going to be up to the Group Therapy to find a solution to this Pharah problem that they have not seemed to be able to answer. You see the Sigma ult coming in, and a huge purple. Frizzy, however, able to shift out of it, and Evilzer gets kill on Steve. Frizzy killing Reinhardt, and both teams exchanging ultimates and kills back and forth. And it will be Group Therapy putting pressure on the point. Rose attempts the Barrage, but not able to get the hero play this time. Dies to the Rhyme Shield, and it will be a flip for Group Therapy. Group Therapy able to put some pressure onto the point, gets press onto Reinhardt. Siege still putting some amount of pressure onto the point, not willing to give up the fight to Group Therapy just yet. However, Group Therapy with Frizzy popping the ultimate, killing Mango. This should be they should be able to turn this into kills, especially with Respect killing Reinhardt. And it will be Group Therapy holding on. Siege backing out. An excellent fight for Group Therapy. They were able to commit just their Coalescent and their Reaper ultimate, and are able to get out many of the fight-winning ultimates on the side of Siege. Siege will be coming in now with a Nano, with a Hog ultimate, and with the Tracer Pulse Bomb. However, with the Shatter and a Beat ready to answer for Group Therapy should be able to hold on to this. Some excellent return ults. However, as we know, we see Rose once again peppering damage onto Group Therapy. Steve doing his best to pressure them out, but Evilzer getting a pick onto Steve. An excellent play. A stick forcing out the shift. And we do see Reinhardt just annihilating Club Tribe, and it looks like it will be Siege taking this over. Ooh, Group Therapy, a late beat. An interesting, ambitious play from FlexGod trying to keep the point alive for the supports. However, with this many people, FlexGod is just stalling at this point. It will be Siege taking over the point. 82% of catch progress gained here by Group Therapy. Group Therapy will have their Bob online as well as the Growlflex and the Coalescence, while just a Gravitic Flux coming up for Siege. This is a winnable fight opportunity here for Group Therapy if they're willing to take it, and if they're able to survive the damage that Rose is absolutely peppering onto the team right now. Both teams fighting for positioning. You see the Sigma ultimate traded by both teams over an excellent on-nade once again from Brugge. A Bob coming onto the point. Evilzer killing Steve again. Thieves Tribe over killing Reinhardt. Both teams exchanging back and forth, and with the Bob out, that should be a lot more damage for Siege. However, Group Therapy able to once again flip the point, and Rose going down means that this should be Group Therapy's point to just clean up. Evilzer doing their best to try to keep the point alive. However, it looks like Group Therapy will have too much damage at 95%. We'll see if anybody from Siege is even able to touch, or if we'll be tied in Busan 1-1. Both teams are exchanging attempt here from Reinhardt to sneak, however, not able to make it on time, and it will be a tied map here on Busan. Do you have to say, Brugge has been hitting some very clutch on a Bionites and Field Knights. Siege was not really able to capitalize on it in that last fight there. However, if they're going to continue to hit those, it's likely that Group Therapy will eventually lose those fights. We see that they were able to ignore Rose, and I can imagine on Mecha base, it's going to be particularly hard for Rose to get value with the open air and low ceilings coming out with Steve there on the Ashe. However, Evozor has been shutting down Steve very well on the Tracer, so it will be an interesting back and forth we continue to see from these teams. Oh, a Zarya Reinhardt switch here coming out from Siege, going away from the Sigma Roadhog. However, it will be the same comp once again coming out from Group Therapy, really believing in that Reinhardt rushdown comp with the Lucio and the Reaper. Understandable, it's very strong on Busan. And Rose coming out on the Hanzo, which, combos with the Zarya, it makes sense. It's a powerful thing. Both teams right now fighting for high ground. Just fighting for positioning back and forth. A bit earlier there on Group Therapy because of the Lucio. Both teams exchanging cooldowns and resources right now. Reinhardt goes in deep and punished here by Cleave Drive, but will be an early Reinhardt advantage coming out here for Siege. Sorry, for Group Therapy. Group Therapy just putting the pressure on using WM1 keys. Great effect. Flex got a kill on a Rose. The tank line here, the support line here for Siege is down, and it will be an early capture progress here by Group Therapy. Reinhardt really overextended themselves and was very quickly capitalized on by Group Therapy. Group Therapy just exchanging. Mormon should be able to get out, just going for some Zarya charge. Both teams exchange resources right now. Rose going onto the McCree over the Hanzo. You just see both teams just exchanging their cooldowns. Klawa building up the Coalescent. It will be the first ultimate, and Evils are putting pressure onto the back, forcing out the Coalescent from Klawa, which does find Brugge, however, so it will be an advantage up here for Group Therapy, and Group Therapy with a quick cleanup, and it will be Group Therapy taking this point, even with Evil's pressure. It will be back to square one and planning phase here for Siege. Does have a Coalescent of their own, and will be incredibly close to Graviton Surge. We're building that incredibly quickly, even faster than the Pulse Bomb, as Evil's swells over to the Ashe. Group Therapy, however, only with the Reinhardt shatter to their name, will have to do their best to try to get value out of that ultimate. And we do see a huge shatter landed, killing the Mormon. However, Siege is able to kite it while Group Therapy is pushing in. Reinhardt getting a pin kill onto Frizzy. This could be an overextension here from Group Therapy. However, they are able to get to two quick kills, and they will be able to keep the pressure on the Siege. Group Therapy now having access to their beat and Gravflex, and that they've kind of been able to last through that window where Graviton Surge was up with nothing to counter it. Siege coming in both their tank ults, no other, and the Coalescent still. We do see the Dynamites exchange by both teams. The Sigma ult quickly pulled out. Flex got the immediate response, and Steve gets the kill on Rose. A quick 3K here from Group Therapy. Group Therapy is not giving up this point. You're putting a ton of pressure onto Siege, and Siege is just going to have to back away. Siege now at 85%. They may not be able to touch. An excellent aggressive push here from Group Therapy, using their ultimate. Still have the Bob and the Reaper ultimate, whereas Siege just having the Rhine Shatters, they might even have to give up just to touch the point. Mormon just on the ball, trying to touch the point. Might die, however, before actually triggering the overtime. Does look like they were able to hit it while Brugge is onto the point. Frizzy, an easy kill onto Brugge. Reinhardt, however, with the pin kill onto Frizzy, and attempt at a hero shatter. Both teams exchanging back and forth. This isn't over. However, with the Bob coming out here from Group Therapy, it should be a quick cleanup. Rose finding two on the Hanzo. Rose getting those late exit kills. Siege isn't giving this point up without a fight there, just throwing bodies onto the point, trying to keep that overtime timer going. However, with Bob getting the 2Ks, it will look like Group Therapy takes Busan. Oh, however, at the last second, Brugge able to fight, just trying to keep that overtime arm alive, and it will be Group Therapy taking Busan. An excellent show of how the Reinhardt Rush comp can really push the advantage that they have once they take control there on Mecha base. And we really did see, much as Rose got a ton of value on fire on this first map, Group Therapy was able to adapt, take advantage of that frontline battle, and really put the pressure onto Group Therapy so they couldn't onto Siege, so they couldn't find value out of that Pharah, even with that amazing 6K that was a pretty sweet play, the kind of thing goes onto your highlight reel. A nice kill percentage coming out here from Frizzy, and we do see that the supports from Group Therapy putting in a ton amount of value onto their team. And it will be interesting to see how Siege adapts to Group Therapy's rushdown comp. If indeed Group Therapy keeps running the rushdown comp, we will be going to Route 66, a map that much more open, much harder to run that Reinhardt Lucio comp into. Oh, I apologize. It will not be Route 66. It will be Blizzard World, which Reinhardt comp is possible to run, it can like kind of force their way into making the enemy into poor positionings. There are also lots of space on the map. It'll be interesting to see how they choose to attack this. With group therapy, a map up, they've got to be feeling good. However, Blizzard World does have a lot of long sight lines, could potentially see a Pharah. However, also those long sight lines also hurt Pharah as they allow for some kind of late sniper. We did see Steve very much shut down by the Tracer. Blizzard's part, much as it was not able to be enough for Siege to take the map. It is a good sign for Siege that they are able to win that TPS 1v1. Both teams just getting set up between maps here right now. We are waiting on the go-ahead so we can go into Blizzard World. As I mentioned, the supports from group therapy really getting a lot more value than their counterparts. Much as Brugga did get some excellent on-nades, you weren't really able to see Siege capitalize on it much at all. Yeah, the Sigma Hog. The Sigma Hog did win the first map.
At first, I was like, huh, okay.
I mean, a lot of that might have been the Pharah.
Yeah, there was definitely
Yeah, I mean, anytime you see a Pharah get a 6K without even like a bunch of ultimate investment, that was just a flat 6K on its own.
Yeah, it's scary.
Indeed it is. Though we did see Ski adapting onto those long-range hits again, able to put enough pressure on. Be curious to see, Reinhardt did get kind of punished for the Reinhardt aggression there later on by group therapy. We'll have to see how that tank battle continues to move on. I'm not sure if Roadhog Stigma is the play on Blizzard World, but maybe it worked well in scrims. Maybe they're trying to disrespect group therapy a bit. It'll be interesting to see. Both teams just ready up here. Evilstar did show a lot of value on that Tracer. We could see dive coming up from Siege. Could be strong in Blizzard World. Blizzard World, a map that has very different points, and as such, very different comps that are viable in each one. Oh no, Mango's probably going to ask the casters to say things again. We're just waiting on Blizzard World to ready up. So both teams are able to see what Siege will be able to do to adjust the group therapy's aggression. It looks like Siege will be choosing to defend first, so deciding that they like to know where they will stand before they attack. Most teams typically do prefer to defend first. It's able to give them the information of how to set up for their offense, whether or not they should just stack ult or have to go for a more consistent long-term push. It will be interesting to see what Siege does to counter the aggressive tank play from group therapy. Group therapy really knowing the limits that their front line is able to play at. Mango and really wanting attention from the casters. Gotta say, not a good budget. As a caster, usually I prefer my players to be a little more careful with their attention, so that I'm able to give them attention, based on good plays, rather than just asking me things in the match. There's no way if he'd ready up, and it will be time for us to come into Blizzard World. It'll be interesting to know Genji comes up from either team, which is always an interesting decision. But Genji is obviously one of the strongest heroes right now. However, if you don't have a strong Genji player, it's not necessarily worth running. All right, and we will now be entering Blizzard World. It will be map 2 between Siege and Siege Weapons and Group Therapy. Siege is currently coming down a map. We will see them defending first. We will see how they choose to defend their Blizzard World. Will be Group Therapy coming in onto the attack on the offense. Both teams is getting ready to assemble their comps here for Blizzard World. Definitely one of the most visually interesting maps, as well as this. The defense on Blizzard World is always interesting because there's lots of high ground. However, they're very isolated from each other and very hard to rotate through.
Ready for battle.
And it does look like a much more meta comp coming out this time from Siege. We do see the double shield with the Ashe and a Doomfist, as well as the Break Bap. A very strong strategy that can kind of counter a lot of the options that could be coming in from the attacking team. It'll be interesting to see if Rose is able to get value on that Doomfist. Doomfist, a very ride or die hero. If the Doomfist pops off, it's one of the hardest heroes to counter in the game. However, if the Doomfist just feeds, it is particularly hard to get value out of the Doomfist, as they are just kind of in the enemy team. And it looks like the Group Therapy is just going to run back the Ryan Sigma comp. They're just going to keep running at the front line. And will be a pause here for a second. Right as the teams are about to attack. We'll see what it is that... Oh, it looks like Siege is going to be nerfed by the internet. The worst, the real raid boss of Overwatch. It'll be interesting to see if this look on the Doomfist and will be able to counter Frizzy's Reaper aggression. Theoretically, Doomfist has the advantage over the Reaper as they're able to get in and out, whereas the Reaper has much less mobility. However, with the Lucio, it will be easy for Cleave Tribe and Respite to be able to put a lot more pressure on Mormon and Reinhardt, and Evilzer and C opting into the Ashe 1v1. However, with Reinhardt DCing, it looks like it will be a bit of a longer pause, as technical issues always happen, and at cast, GHG wants to give you the entire Overwatch League experience, including that of a long pause while you wait for somebody to connect. And the cast are desperately trying to fill time as they're not sure what to talk about. And it looks like Reinhardt rejoins the game. We'll be able to start back shortly. We will see these teams start engaging once Reinhardt is able to get into the lobby and set up. Luckily, don't lose any map percentage or positioning, as they are still in spawn about to attack. Just waiting on Reinhardt to get into the lobby. Looks like hopefully they have their internet issues sorted. We might have to restart the lobby, so please stay patient with this chat as we just wait for Siege and Group Therapy to get all their internet issues set up. Just waiting on some technical issues. Appears that Reinhardt is struggling to get into the map. We will see the lobby restarted. Most likely the same compositions coming out. We'll see if maybe Siege has a change of heart as they move out. However, I doubt it, as the Ryan Sigma compositions are still very strong, and that Ashe, always a strong hero with all of the poke and shield pressure she's able to put on. It's interesting to see if Rose will stay on the Doomfist. That's probably the most interesting change in composition from what we would expect from the norm.
Ready for battle.
It will take us a bit to be able to find out what Group Therapy is going to do. Offensive spawns always going to be a bit more of a chaotic change of heroes. However, it looks like they will be coming out also on that rushdown Reinhardt comp. Will be interesting to see how these teams play in this straight-up brawl fight. The Brig Bab does theoretically have more value over time compared to the Lucio Moira. However, Lucio Moira are able to clump a lot better which could potentially swing a fight, while Braga and Mangone might struggle to get that value.
4, 3,
And we do see these teams engaging, with the map counting down,
attackers incoming.
and it will just be a straight out brawl. We will see group therapy coming out here down the middle, center of the map.
I will shield fire in the
To cooldowns being quickly exchanged, Sigma eating, and we are going to see group therapy pushing up onto the high ground. Siege a bit slow to rotate, however they will rotate, give up that high ground over to group therapy. Well, group therapy goes on to flight of the Duskwood. Group therapy going to keep rotating onto low ground. We'll see if they go all the way around, or nope, they were going to rotate back onto the point. Both teams engage. The Immortality Field forced out very early from Siege, which is already on itself a win. However, Mangoni killing Frizzy and Reinhardt winning the Reinhardt 1v1. It will be Siege with an excellent defense. We did see that Doomfist there putting a ton of damage onto the Reinhardt. So much as Brugge's Immortality Field was forced out early, Group Therapy not really able to capitalize on it, and not even able to get that much ult charge out of it. Reinhardt very much ahead in the Reinhardt 1v1, and ultimates pretty much the same across the board, with a slight advantage over to those fast-building ultimates like the Rally and the Doomfist. And once again, Group Therapy running it down mid. However, they will be pushing, not going on the high ground at this point, going towards the left side. A big Ashe Dynamite coming in. Frenzy trying to get value, however, finding it hard to get in. We do see Rose engage, and Siege gets very quickly separated. Able to find Claw, however, both teams exchanging back and forth with no support on either on this side of Siege. Rose getting a 2K. Rose once again popping off onto that Doomfist, and it will be another hold here for Siege. Siege showing a very stalwart defense, making it really hard for Group Therapy to capitalize on that movement advantage. We will see a set of ultimates coming up here for Siege with the Earth Shatter, the Doomfist Rocket Punch, and the Gravitic Flex. Actually, honestly, all of their ultimates except for Brugge's are coming online, whereas we do see Siege switching over to the McCree, most likely a response directly to Rose's. Switch onto the Doomfist, which will give Evilzer the distance advantage. However, we'll get even more shield break onto Group Therapy as they try to engage. We do see Reinhardt go for the Shatter, and an early Immortality will come up from Brugge. However, Group Therapy pushing into it. Siege very quickly getting a clean wipe. Group Therapy not able to stand up to all the damage. However, a lot of ultimates, both tank ultimates and the Rally used here for Siege. So Siege does have their DPS ultimates and will have that Amp Matrix coming out. However, Group Therapy will be able to have... Oh, they used their Coalescence during that fight. I didn't see that being used. That was probably a bit of a loss there from Claw. Frizzy swapping over to the Junkrat, just more of that spam damage. And we do see the Orisa swap. A full-scale swaps coming in here from Group Therapy. We see the meta comp with the Junkrat instead of Genji. And we do see Flex God going onto that Zenyatta. Gives a lot of burst damage, however, very fragile, especially to a Doomfist that might be putting pressure onto that backline. We once again see Group Therapy taking the high ground. Makes a lot of sense, particularly with the longer range distance heroes that they have.
60 seconds
And Siege is content just to kite it, just to wait around, exchange cooldowns back and forth. Siege has the time advantage. Both teams just exchanging the cooldown. Siege has 3 ultimates up. They're happy to sit here all day. It's up on Group Therapy. They're trying to make a move. Steve getting a pick on a Brugge. That's exactly the opening that Group Therapy needs. You do see Respite quickly using Sigma ult, Group Therapy moving in, trying to force out abilities. However, Evils are able to get a pick onto Steve. Both teams exchanging cooldowns back and forth. Rose getting picked onto Claw. An excellent defense here from Siege. Flex God over punching Rose for that. Evils are though killing Flex God, and it should be another hold here coming up for Siege. Group Therapy will just have time for one last almost desperation push. Siege showing an incredibly strong defense and a lot of comfort on this comp. There will be 4 ultimates coming up, both the tank ultimates, that Ant Matrix, and the Bob, all of which are fight winners on their own. Group Therapy going to have to switch onto the ball, onto the hamster just to touch. No ultimates to speak of for any of them. It's a really rough situation coming in here for Group Therapy. Team Threat trying to just trigger that over time. You see Flex not touching the point. Shadow attempt coming in from Reinhardt, not able to turn too much over. With both supports on here for Group Therapy, and Evils are killing Leaf Drive. This should be an easy cleanup here for Siege, with a full hold coming up here. The animators use Respite gets a kill on the Reinhardt, however, that is most likely too little late as their team dies around them, and it will be a full hold on point A here from Siege. An excellent defense. We do see the strength of that double shield comp when it's given the chance to position where they want.
Score 0-0. Switching sides.
So it's going to be up to Group Therapy to replicate that and force the draw. Whereas it's Siege in an incredibly strong position, knowing that they just need to cap A. They can just bank up 6 ultimates. They only really need to win 1 team fight. They don't need to fight for positioning as much as you would for the long-term fight for a normal attack. We'll see if we see any creative defenses coming out here from Group Therapy to respond to that, as they did seem much less comfortable on against the Reinhardt Sigma. It turns out that Reinhardt is a better hero to pair Sigma than Roadhog. Who would have thought?
Ready for battle.
And it will be the Metacomp with the Torbjorn coming out from Group Therapy. Always a risk when you play the Zenyatta, as Zenyatta, one of the most damaging heroes in the game, however, incredibly vulnerable. Most teams run the break to be able to potentially counter a Genji coming in or a Tracer coming in. However, the Discorder does allow for a lot more shield poke, a lot more pressure put onto the enemy backline, and as well as the ability for Zen to just win fights on his own. So it'll be double shield with the Torbjorn. Torbjorn, a potential hedge against dive, as well as, but with the double hit scan, it will be kind of hard for the team to put pressure on the shields of Reinhardt in the moment. Rose showing that fire again. We saw how much damage Rose is able to do on that hero. And Evils are most likely just a quick Widowmaker poke, then a swap. However, we'll see if they hold on to that. Pharah Widowmaker can be a very strong comp in the right circumstances. Both teams. Oh, Evils are the pick on this Stee, and that's exactly what you fear when you're on the defense. That long-range TPS from Siege just putting so much pressure onto the backline of Group Therapy, killing Frizzy Turret, and Group Therapy already at the disadvantage, having to do their best to touch the point. If they don't touch the point, they're just going to give it up. They do drop. You see Reinhardt going for the charge, and Immortality Field forced out. Reinhardt getting surrounded, however, not dying. An excellent job on Mercy keeping them up. Eventually dies, however, Rose and Warbird are able to find 200 Group Therapy, and Siege just putting so much pressure onto Group Therapy. All of this found off of that early pick from Evilzer, and it's Siege, however, Group Therapy, however, able to turn around. Evilzer kills Steve again. However, Group Therapy holding strong in the actual point, and with the presence they still have, it looks like Group Therapy will be able to hold this. Steve now swapping over to Widowmaker, choosing to take that duel, which makes sense. Ashe has the disadvantage in that 1v1. Slave Tribe, however, able to get a very late stagger kill onto Evilzer, who already has worked their way up to that Infrasight. However, Mangoni able to get the res onto Evilzer, so Evilzer back up and fighting. We will see another engage coming out here from Siege. And the Sight's used. Cloud Tribe kills a Reinhardt. Cloud Tribe getting a lot of value on that Wrecking Ball. Mormon kills Frizzy's turret again. Cloud Tribe just going into the backline, forcing out that Immortality Field again from Group Therapy. From Siege, sorry. Evilzer gets a kill on the Flex God. Evilzer getting killed on Siege. So much value being run by that Widowmaker the moment that they are ignored, and it will be so much pressure coming in here from Siege again. Sigma ultimate killing Frizzy, and it looks like Siege cleaning this up. We do see the ultimate coming up from Rose and from Mangoni, just trying to clean up the remaining members of Group Therapy. Just Claw now on the point, doing their best to survive. You do see Cloud Tribe coming in here with the Wrecking Ball, with the ultimate, trying to space out the enemy team. However, they're able to ignore it. Group Therapy just desperately holding on to the point. We just need the Solar Shatter. Clef got a kill on a Mangoni, with both teams training out, which does benefit Siege. It looks like Siege able to cap this point. Balance the maps out 1-1. Siege with it took them a bit to get their attack going. However, we did see once a Widowmaker left in check at this level will eventually be able to find their picks. The Group Therapy tanks, the moment they kind of had to go and put pressure onto the front line, they gave free reign over to Evilzer, and Evilzer was able to capitalize on that. This of course all being opened up by that incredible full hold on A by Siege. Siege showing a lot more comfort on this map than they did on Busan. And it's up to Group Therapy now to adjust their comps and their play style accordingly. As Siege shows that in what is essentially the mirror, Siege is much more comfortable. And we still have yet to see Group Therapy really find an answer to the Pharah. So far, their best answer to Pharah has been playing on maps which Pharah isn't good on, which, while a legitimate strategy long-term, may not be the successful play that they had hoped it would be. We'll be moving over to Route 66 now, a map that has a lot of high ground, which usually is the playground for a lot of those long-range hit scans. Don't make it kind of hard for the Pharah, much as there is so much space for the Pharah to fly, does mean the Pharah is very hard to play around the sightlines of those long-range hit scans. Also, usually a little more mobile tank play is seen on Route 66. It'll be really hard to get that much value off of the Reinhardt in particular. On Route 66 is like getting the Reinhardt to a position where the Reinhardt provides value is a lot harder. Interesting, we haven't seen much Orisa from either team. You did see a bit there on Blizzard World. However, you do see that both teams kind of shying away from the Orisa, which is understandable. Both the teams are asking for a 3-minute break, which we will likely to be able to provide. Mangoni once again demanding information of the casters. It looks like we'll be taking a quick 3-minute break. Grace showing that they are a lot more willing to indulge Mangoni's questions, which is fair. Someone's got to do it. So it is going to be a halftime here at Golden Hammer Gaming, Siege vs. Group Therapy. Thank you all for joining and watching. This is the match for the current bottom of Division 1, as claimed by some of the members of the teams. Currently, it is 1-1. We will see how the rest goes. We have one match result in. We do see that redacted 3-0 Yeet Elite. No other teams have really reported the results yet. Oh, we do see that the 05 heads 3-0'd the Benchwarmers. So you are getting results as they come in. So some free Overwatch going on, which we're not having here, thankfully. Here we are seeing a lot more closer matches than we've gotten from some of the other matches that have been going on simultaneously to today. This is some Division 1 play here on Golden Hammer Gaming. It is round 3. It is the third round of our first 4-round set, after which there will be a promotion and relegation round. Both teams in Division 1 really wanting to avoid that relegation, really wanting to stay at that upper tier of Overwatch, whereas Division 2 really trying to push to try to get put that benefit onto the big stage. No other match results available for you guys right now. We are just taking some time on the halftime for teams to take some breaks and really just reset. Coaches potentially to talk to the teams, tell them how to improve and whatnot. I'm really curious to see what Group Therapy is going to do about the fact that they seem to be losing the DPS war. Now, of course, with DPS, it's always hard to tell because so much of that DPS war is depending on the enabling of the supports and the space taken by the tank line. However, it does have to be pointed out that Evilzer is getting a ton of value, and Rose also we saw getting value, both of which puts a lot of pressure on Stee as the hit scan player to try to keep both those players in check. We have seen the Reaper and the Junkrat from Frizzy. Now the Wits have gotten Frizzy, while getting value out of the Reaper, not getting anywhere near as much value out of that Junkrat. Admittedly, it was a last-minute switch on an offense. However, going forward, I would really like to see Frizzy be able to put the same amount of value as the rest of the DPS seem to be doing for their teams. It is interesting that we have seen Group Therapy, for the most part, stay away from those Baptiste comps, which might just be a preference, might be something about their support play. Baptiste, obviously one of the strongest healers in the game, particularly in Mortality Field. The kind of ability that entire fights are played around. We have seen a lot of early ones coming out from the supports, in particular on Siege's side. However, those early Mortality Fields were not punished by Group Therapy, and we did actually see it enabling aggression from Siege, which, when you know you can't die, it's a lot easier to just WM1 into the enemy team. We are just waiting on the teams to finish their break, talk to each other about their strategies, and figure out what it is that they're going to do. For those interested on Golden Hammer Gaming 2, we do still have a match going on between... Give me a second while I figure out what the match is between. Match going on between... Between. I believe it's disbanded on Hill. That sounds right. Yes, it is disbanded in I Need Healing. It's going on over on Golden Hammer Gaming 2. We are here on Golden Hammer Gaming 1. Looks like the teams are getting ready to go. To go for map 3. We will at least see 5 games. Mangone, desperate for cash. You know, it's always nice to hear someone's name being used on stream. Both teams, Group Therapy deciding now they want to attack or defend. Most teams choosing defense first. We'll see if that trend continues or Group Therapy's. And will be Group Therapy choosing defense. Once again, as I mentioned before, most teams like knowing where they're going to be as they enter the point, and so they can know how their offense is going to go. We will see both teams readying up here, getting ready to go into Route 66, our escort map. Technically, ties are possible, but unlikely considering everything going on. And we will be getting ready to come into this map right about now. Group Therapy will be on the defense, so the colors will be changing from what we were doing before. With Group Therapy in the blue and Siege in the red. We're now just waiting on Reinhardt to ready. Looks like for the most part everybody will be ready. We'll see Group Therapy now won't turn on. I apologize, I've been pronouncing Flex God wrong. It should be Flex God, not Flex God. Flex God clearly wants the emphasis on God in the name. All teams are ready, so we should be going into Route 66 now. All right, hello, welcome to Golden Hammer Gaming. This is week 3, map 3 here between Group Therapy and Siege. It's going to be Route 66. It will be Group Therapy coming out here on the defense. Currently, the teams are tied 1 match apiece, with Group Therapy taking Busan and Siege. Sorry, I apologize. With Siege taking Busan. Nope. It was Group Therapy taking Busan and Siege taking Blizzard World. See the timer's running down. It's yet to see what defense Group Therapy will be running for. It does look like they're believing Frizzy's Torbjorn. A bit of a pick that's not been as much of a meme recently. Torbjorn does have a lot of shield pressure and does answer the dive very strongly. However, less consistent damage than some of the other projectile options. It will be the double shield with the Orisa, Stee on the Ashe, Claw on the Baptiste, and we do see another Zenyatta coming out. So inherently, Zenyatta does provide a lot more damage than the break. However, Zenyatta way more exposed and potentially open to an attack from Group Therapy, who seem to really want to run Reinhardt on this Roadhog. We'll see if this is the 3rd time Reinhardt pulls it out. Obviously, offensive spawns a bit of a question mark, but it does look like they're holding to this. You see Rose once again coming on that Pharah. Rose has gotten a huge amount of value on that Pharah. Will be hard for Steve to try to put pressure on that while also having to avoid Evils are coming out on that Widowmaker. And the Ball Hog is, one of those comps I usually only see in my comp games, but it can work, I suppose. We do see a quick drop and a punch coming out onto Group Therapy. Siege is putting pressure on all angles. While Group Therapy is hiding in the low ground of Big Earls, using that underhand to avoid Rose's damage. However, there is free cart progress coming up here for Siege. Respite, however, getting killed on a Reinhardt, a very nice early kill. Will be rezzed up by Mangoni, and both teams exchanging abilities back and forth. Evils are trying to get those picks. Oh, and Flex got a kill on a Mangoni. That's a huge advantage here for that defense. The Pharah now exposed, while Mormon continuing to try to put pressure onto the backline. The defense is doing an excellent job moving here through Big Earls, using their shields, using their cooldowns. We do see Mormon trying to bully the team, but getting absolutely melted down by all the different heroes just sitting there in Big Earls. And Flex got a pick on the Evilzer, and it will be a successful hold here. Big Girls showing why it's one of the best defensive positions to set up here. And it will have to be a different attack angle here from Siege as they try to figure out how to break this defense. It will be Evils are going onto the Tracer. Siege here coming, Group Therapy, I apologize, coming out here with their Sigma ultimate, both tank ultimates as well as their amplification matrix. Brugga, however, having that nano boost is always strong. Rose, we saw how strong they can be with their rocket barrage. We do see the bongo used out here by Group Therapy, and Rose immediately gets a pick onto Frizzy. Still trap, however, able to get a pick on Rose the other way. You do see the Immortality build coming out, the Sigma ult coming out, not able to find any value off of it. Actually killing Reinhardt and then Claw getting a pick onto Mormon, and it will have to be another regroup here from Siege as Group Therapy once again showing that they're very strong on defense. Though it does have to point out that we once again see that Sigma Roadhog composition coming out from Siege, which, you know, a little bit unorthodox, you know, does have a lot of shield pressure, but also doesn't have a lot of shielding presence. And Rose, once again on that Junkrat, they gave up on the fire up. A really nice job there by Steve and Frizzy putting enough pressure on the fire to force a switch. With a bunch of ultimates still coming up here for Siege, Flex God showing the excellent amount of strength on the Zenyatta. Getting picked on the Evilzer again. Flex God really showing that Zenyatta basically a DPS character. And the kill on a Mangoni. Cleave tried killing Rose, and it will be another clean fight here from Group Therapy. Group Therapy showing why that high ground is also super strong. And Group Therapy looking like they're ready to start setting up for another full point hold. Siege here coming in with the nano boost. They will switch on to the Reinhardt. They will have the nano boost and the Tracer ultimate. However, with the Bob and the Transcendence coming up here for Group Therapy, it will be hard for Siege to break this. Group Therapy has the tools to be able to win this fight. You do see User putting pressure on the point while the rest of Siege putting pressure onto the main. Both teams exchanging cooldowns. We do see the Bob coming out here for immediately spent out by Mangoni. However, Bob not really answered, forcing out the nade, forcing out the Reinhardt shield. And we do see a huge split coming in. See Evilzer with a huge stick, killing 3. Oh, I hate to see that if you're Siege. You set up such a strong defense, and the Tracer just gets an absolute monster of a pulse bomb. And once again, it is the DPS here for Siege showing up when they're needed, and it will be a point A take here from Siege. Group Therapy going to feel bad about that, losing the point with their Transcendence. And it's going to be time for Siege to set up their point B defense. Group Therapy coming in, Brugge is still holding on to that nano boost, hasn't used it yet. Bro, it's getting close to the junk tire. Has built that up incredibly quickly. You do see Mormon go for an aggressive flank here, being pushed back here by Siege. Frizzy trying to still get value out of that Torbjorn, you know, still does have a lot of sight lines. However, Group Therapy Siege has been doing an excellent job killing that Torb turret, breaking the damage. We do see an ambitious flank coming in here from Evilzer. A double ultimate here used by Siege, which will be punished by Group Therapy to take an answer with just that Zen ultimate. And a pick on Rose. The tire still running around, does get a kill onto Steam. We do see a huge amount of damage coming out from Group Therapy. Pushing Siege, even though that tire was out for so long, was not able to be dealt with. And it will be a continued push here from Siege. And with a late stagger onto Clava, it looks like Siege will be able to get an incredibly strong position for the end of B. Group Therapy, however, still... Sorry, I apologize. Siege, however, still believing in that Torbjorn pick, which is ambitious to say the least. However, they do have a lot of ultimates coming up. They may be able to retake this. The amplification matrix is not being used here. However, the other ultimates are exchanged. Respite getting kill on a Rose. Brugge using that nano boost. We do see a bongo coming out here. A double kill here for Siege. It's maybe their chance to finally show that they have the ability to hold Group Therapy off. First with the double kill. And Steve the kill on Evilzer. Clawa does go down with that amp matrix. However, it does look like Siege is going to have to regroup here while Group Therapy cleans up. Group Therapy finally... Group Therapy finally showing a strong defense that they're able to hold off Siege's aggression. Group Therapy now coming up with a couple ultimates that could potentially be used together. The Torbjorn shooting the ultimate through the amplification matrix does amplify that damage. Evilzer coming up with another pulse bomb. Rose taking a very aggressive flank angle. A very interesting attack coming here from the right side. However, Respite getting the kill on a Mangoni early. And already we see Siege down on the ultimate. Rose killing Clawa. You see Frizzy popping that ultimate. Not able to get that much value. Evilzer gets a pick on the Frizzy. Clawa goes down with the ultimate again, and it looks like Siege is crumbling. Or forcing to crumble on a Group Therapy. Rose gets a kill on the Steve. Respite killing Reinhardt. And we do see an ultimate here used by Mormon killing Cleave Tribe. Flex God getting another pick on the Evilzer. showing there nothing to be built. However, Mormon killing 3, able to end the heroics from Flex God before they begin. And will be point 2 captured here by Siege. Once again, we are seeing that apparently Reinhardt Sigma is a much stronger tank line than Roadhog Sigma. You heard it here first, folks. Some really expert high-level commentary coming out. With 1.5 minutes left for Siege, they will be trying to push point C, one of the hardest points to push in the game. Brugga getting kill on a Frizzy's Torp turret. Flex God, once again, holding that ultimate, we should be able to counter out the tire and the... Sorry, not the tire, but we should be able to counter the shatter from Siege. Siege just trying to push around that corner. A very far back hole being used here by Siege. By group therapy. Against Siege. We do see the tire coming up from Rose. He was already killing off Frizzy's turret. It is nice with the tire. We'll see if Rose is able to get any kills off of that tire. And does look like they're able to find Frizzy. Frizzy being split from the rest of the team, being hunt for it. Oh, throwing of the Matrix. Sport ultimately trades by both sides. And the Immortality Field being forced out. Reinhardt killing the Immortality Field. Mormon killing Fleet Drive. And both ultimates being thrown out by both teams. A huge shatter coming in here from Reinhardt. And there is an absolute amount of aggression once again coming in here from Siege. Group Therapy falling under it with 2 ultimates available to them. They might not be able to get to use because Mormon just bleeding up. Rose desperately trying to make it to the point. We do see Flex God on the Zoom Yada just coming out, trying to hold the point. Desperation Soft coming out here from Group Therapy, trying to hold this cart while Siege is able to keep the pressure on. Junkrat's traded out by both teams. Mangana, however, also down, means that Group Therapy is going to be a person up. However, Reinhardt able to get that kill on a Flex God. Those late defensive spawns looks like they will be coming into effect, and it does look like Siege will be able to hold off. Sorry, Group Therapy will be able to hold off Siege. Siege, however, resetting a desperate charge from Reinhardt just to touch the point. Does eat the Sigma ultimate, but able to touch. 2 kills down. Desperation here from Siege as they try to keep touching that point. Looks like they will not be able to, as Siege able to prevent. Sorry, Group Therapy able to prevent the full cap.
Score 0.
A really back and forth map we saw there. We did see that once Siege went off of that Roadhog pick, that they were able to put a lot more pressure and value on the front line from Group Therapy and able to get a pretty decent push considering how long they were being held 1A. We did see perhaps Torgor not getting as much value as you would hope from Group Therapy. It hasn't really shown a lot of value. Eagles are able to kind of play around it. We did see some hero plays coming out from the Siege DPS once again, showing that they're very much willing to put the team on their backs.
Ready for battle.
So we'll be Group Therapy now on the offense and Siege on the defense. Looks like Siege going to come out with that Doomfist once again with that Ryan Sigma. We'll see what Group Therapy can come up with to counter it. Siege running a pretty standard comp, but again with that Doomfist over the Genji. Everything else, and the Ana. We're showing a lot of prominence and preference for that hero. However, we'll be swapping over to the Zen. Zen Brig, one of them. Oh, no, it will be Brig Beth. Apparently, Brig is not sure what they want to play. It will be a big Earl setup once again, as pretty standard for defense. We saw from Group Therapy earlier how strong that point can be. And with the Zoro opening up, it will be Group Therapy showing the legs a bit of a adaptation from them. Probably scared of Rose's Pharah. Rose have not played the Pharah. Push up onto the high ground from Group Therapy, trying to engage. We do see a very aggressive flank from Mormon. Looks like they will be punished there by Group Therapy. Group Therapy really putting that pressure on. We do see Rose getting a pick on that Orisa. However, with that Immortality Field gone, oh, Rose getting another pick. Rose getting so much value out of that Doomfist. However, with Group Therapy able to rotate onto point, we do see Big Earls really given up by the tank line. It's just the long-range heroes from Siege left to try to hold that. Group Therapy waiting for their tanks to come back. And it does look like the Brig and Sigma will come back in time. Even the Reinhardt, so not able to be, those respawn advantages not being able to be used by Group Therapy. Group Therapy just pushing the point. We do see Rose going in, getting absolutely melted by Frizzy and that Discord orb, the value of that Zenyatta showing out. Reinhardt dropping to the point, the tanks very much separated. Reinhardt, a very aggressive shatter, punished by Flex God. There does kill, both teams traded their Immortality kills. Worm 27 able to kill Flex God, and Evils are killing out Steve. It does look like Siege is turning this, despite their early pickoffs. Evils are getting a ton of value once again from that high ground. We have seen Mangoni fall, however, trying to kill off Frizzy. Just the tanks of Group Therapy alive, it will be a reset. that should be called here for group therapy. However, Respite still wants to fight this, ends up getting massively staggered. An interesting play there by the Sigma trying to stay alive. We do see Flex God swapping over onto Lucio. And Clawwell onto the Moira. We are seeing group therapy going onto that a much more aggressive tank line. Sorry, aggressive back line. Also most likely to deal with that Doomfist from Rose, who's getting so much value. A lot of ultimates coming up here for Siege. See how group therapy is able to answer them with some of the ultimates of her own. She is exchanging resources right now. Rose going in, going for a play. We do see it comboed into the Doomfist ult and the Sigma ult. Evils are, however, able to find Flex God. And we do see that huge amount of damage from Siege. Quickly melting group therapy. Press Q when fights. We do see a Bob and a Rally skill here being held onto for Siege. That was a big investment to try to win that fight. A whole whack of ultimates coming up here for group therapy, having access to pretty much all their ultimates that aren't their support ultimates. Should be that they should be able to swing this point, or at the very least disrupt Siege's defense. You see another aggressive high ground play from Mormon. We saw them punish earlier. Not as punished this time, able to retreat back to their team. A rally coming in from Mangoni and Sigma ult and a Bongo used here by group therapy. Both teams just pressing Q madly. First getting a kill on a Mormon, the first pick. Elser's Bob able to kill the Bongo. First, however, killing the Immortality build. There should be an advantage over group therapy, getting a pick onto Rose. Group therapy does have numbers up. Bob's now gone away. Group therapy popping that coalescence. And it should be an easy cleanup here by group therapy. Once again, using their ultimate advantage that they got by being ult advantaged out by Siege in the previous fight. Siege could still touch this over. Siege regrouping. They do have their amplification matrix coming out here from Burga. The only ultimate here on group therapy side of the field being the Bob. Bob, however, is one of the strongest elements of the game, doing a lot of damage at contesting point. A very split setup here from the defense by Siege. We see Reinhardt way away from their team. Immortality field forced out. Mormon, however, able to find Steve. A very good early pick here by Siege.
30 seconds.
Group therapy, however, pushing the attack. Rose gonna go on a Claw. A shatter here by Reinhardt. Respite punishes them for it. However, it does look like damage is down, and Siege will be able to recontest. We saw how much damage that amplification matrix was able to do, and how much value Rose gets on that Doomfist. Just picking up the backline of group therapy whenever they can, really. Group therapy swapping over now to the Reinhardt and the ball. And once again, we see Frizzy on that Reaper. Cloud Tribe with the Desperation Touch, a lot of value being put out here. The Flex God with the ultimate trying to keep group therapy onto the point. Group therapy just throwing bodies on the point, trying to put pressure onto the front line there of Siege. Siege, however, able to find Rose. Reinhardt, however, finding Frizzy Mormon with an excellent Sigma ult, trying to get them off the point. Elser getting a kill on the Respite, and this should be a full hold here coming up from Siege. Bob throwing out Bob being changed by both teams. With Bob killing Cloud Tribe, it is just the Bob from the group therapy that's here to contest the point. And group therapy will eventually run out of players, and it will be a win for Siege. Now up 2-1 in the series. We have seen once again the DPS from group therapy
Play of the game.
really getting countered by the DPS from Siege. You see the play of the game here coming to Mormon with that Sigma ultimate. You see, just even though the ultimate itself not able to get kills, the sheer damage output from that Sigma ultimate able to get a lot of value for the team overall. And it will be a 2-1 lead here for Siege over Group Therapy. Group Therapy going to have to go back to the drawing board for our next map, which will be Hanamura. Always an interesting map, some interesting strats. Sometimes we'll see dives, sometimes we'll see symmetric strats. It's yet to be seen what they will have, what they will be able to run. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Golden Hammer Gaming, Season 2, Week 3. It is going to be Map 4 between Group Therapy and Siege. It will be Hanamura, as both teams are readying up, getting ready to go. It appears that Siege not quite as ready as they would have us believe at first point, because both teams have not decided whether or not who attacks or defends first. It is Siege currently up 2 maps to 1, showing that they're incredibly strong on the defense. It'll be interesting to see how Group Therapy will respond to the strong defense of Siege. And it will be Group Therapy, I believe, defending first here on Hanamura. As we roll out here. It'll be interesting to see what comps these teams run. Hanamura, always a interesting map. I was really low 2 CPUs. You can see some unorthodox strats. You know, we'll see if Reinhardt decides to bust out that Roadhog for the third time. As I've kind of stated earlier, the Roadhog hasn't always looked the strongest for Siege. However, Siege is up 2-1, so maybe that Roadhog switch is just what they need to really give themselves some of that push to come in the middle of the game. It does look like, once again, Junkrat coming in here for Frizzy, with the rest of a pretty standard defense for Group Therapy. Flex God did show a lot of strength on that Zen, got a lot of nasty picks on Evilzer. Respite coming out on the Sigma. It will be Sigma Orisa. So yeah, very standard defense coming out from Group Therapy. Yet to be seen what Siege is going to run on the offense. Looks like it. We'll probably see Rose on the far again. Rose got so much value of that far before. Evils are also getting value on that Widowmaker. No, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Reinhardt coming up on the Reinhardt this time instead of the Roadhog. We do see Siege moving towards the choke. It will be Rose getting discorded. However, other than that, not really getting that much pressure. We'll be up to speed once again to try to put the pressure on while Reinhardt pushes in. And it will be a low ground push coming in here for Siege. While Group Therapy takes the high ground, we do see the Siege tanks put pressure onto the point, forcing Group Therapy to make a decision. Otherwise, give up a tick for free. Will be a free tick here given by Group Therapy as they rotate. As they start trying to cast for the second tick, it is a lot of free range now, given here for Siege to really try to take their positioning advantage while Group Therapy rotates. Group Therapy using the high ground to their advantage. We do see the Immortality Field forced out of Brugga, and it is going down the Immortality Field here for Siege as the teams start exchanging kills back and forth. However, the Baptiste now exchanged by both teams. It is multi-red going up the kill feed, and it will be Siege pushing that advantage. He was getting those late kills, and it will be Siege cleaning up Group Therapy and taking point A. Once they just deal with the Orisa, they do deal with the Orisa, and that is a 0.8 cap coming pretty quickly for Siege. You take a almost 6 minute time bank coming into point B any day of the week. You see the Valk and the Gravitic Flux coming out here for Siege. Well, Group Therapy does swap on that Torbjorn again, really believing in that Tor pick. All they have is an Ant Matrix, however, that is an incredibly strong ultimate, especially in these very narrow choke points. You see Rose coming here on the flank, however, Group Therapy is just holding on to high ground. We see an ultimate coming up from Lorman, trying to get an early pick, forcing out the Immortality Field. And Cleave Tribe does, however, get the pick on a Reinhardt. Evilzer, though, immediately punishing Claw while Mormon getting killed on a Flex God, forcing Group Therapy to drop onto the low ground. While Mangoni reses Reinhardt, however, takes their life for the process. However, Siege putting so much point pressure and so much high ground presence that it's going to be hard to come back for Group Therapy. Respite trying to hero Crowd Flex does get a kill on Mormon 27, and it does look that spawn advantage is starting to come together for Group Therapy. However, Rose with that excellent rocket barrage killing 2, once again trying to swing the fight. Elves are getting a kill on a Clawlight. It's just right now the Orisa trying to desperately keep the fight on. Steve gets a pick on a Rose, Frizzy a pick on a Reinhardt. Ruggy getting a kill on the Steve. Both teams exchanging back and forth. We will see a Siege stay able to push through that high ground. An excellent, amazing rise here by Mangoni. Once again punching up, this time with the pick from Flex God. Respite, however, with the kill on Evilzer, and with this exchange, it does look like Group Therapy will be able to hold the point. Still only giving up 1 tick, which is an excellent defense here for Group Therapy. Group Therapy now holding on to 3 ultimates, especially that Transcendence, so strong for being able to keep the team alive, being able to survive through other ultimates, letting the team trade up in ult efficiency. Not that they really need to worry about it right now, because Siege has no ults. We do finally see that Genji switch on Rose. It's the first time we've seen either team really pull it out. Quite surprising considering how strong Genji is. So we do see that Genji Tracer dive DPS with the Ryan Sigma for Siege. Group therapy, swapping back onto the Sigma, don't need that Desperation Ball anymore. Frizzy on the Reaper. And sort of can counter the Genji, makes it hard for the Genji to push in. However, very hard for the Reaper to get range. A bongo drop here by Club Tribe. Respite gets an early pick on the Evilzer. You absolutely take those. Flex got a pick on a Rose. A bomb not necessarily had to be used there by Group Therapy, but use it if you got it. Trying to secure this fight. It does look like Siege's offense is going to stagger out once again. Group Therapy showing a very strong preference for the defense here. A nice Ash Dynamite coming out here by Steve. And Siege is just kind of trapped here. They can't leave. They can't rotate anywhere, and they can't win the fight. Just an amazing stagger. Group Therapy absolutely takes that. An excellent late game stagger. We do see three ultimates, however, coming up here for Siege with both their tank ultimates and that pulse bomb. We've seen Evilzer get so many picks with their ultimates this game. However, Flex God still having that Transcendence to counter one of the strongest ultimates in the game, if not the strongest ultimate in the game, and with the Immortality Field from Klawa, a lot of sustain will be available for Group Therapy as Siege pushes in. Rose, only 40% on that Genji blade, not as high as you would hope. However, a low ground push coming in for Siege, trying to really force a rotate out of Group Therapy. Giving up that high ground, a risky decision, however, it does look like they're able to get a tick for free. Bit of a mistake there for Group Therapy. Rhodes getting a pick onto Klawa. Flex God killing off Brigga's Immortality Field. Respite kill on a Reinhardt, and we do see the Mangoni popping the Mercy ultimate. Finally, Flex God forced out to use the ultimate after Stee and Mormon die. Frizzy gets a pick on a Reinhardt, and it does look like Group Therapy will be holding on. You've seen that defensive spawn advantage. However, only the Pulse Bomb and the Valk being invested by Siege, while Flex God having to be forced to use that Transcendence, means that Group Therapy will have much less ability to survive this massive 4-stack of ultimates from Siege, with the Earth Shatter, the Ant Matrix, the Grab Flex, and the Dragon Blade, all ultimates that really cannot be lived just with the Immortality Field. We do see an early engage here by Mormon. Oh no, C9! No! You hate to see it. Oh, Group Therapy. Really liked their high ground. Liked their high ground a little bit too much. To be fair, there was a Sigma ult that lifted them up. It might have been a bit of a 4C9, but it looked like they could have had somebody touch the point. A big unlucky there for Group Therapy. You hate to see it. However, that was kind of the story of their defense. We saw Siege really putting a lot of pressure on the point, forcing a lot of responses from Group Therapy, and Group Therapy responding kind of slow. Group Therapy correctly recognizing that high ground is incredibly strong, but high ground not strong if you don't have the point. And not really able to get those quick picks that you hope you can get from the high ground does mean that Siege will take that fight. With a minute and a half on the clock, a very solid defense on Hanamura. Honestly, just finishing Hanamura, worth it on its own. And it does look like Siege will be once again running out with that defensive Doomfist. Doomfist very strong on Hanamura. There's so many choke points, so many walls that you can punch people into, so much high ground that you can fall from on that Doomfist. A really, really strong comp here for Siege, and one that it seems that they're much more comfortable on than that Genji. And it looks like Group Therapy going for that Symmetra strat with Frizzy on the Reaper. And it will be that Sim TP coming out here from Group Therapy. Let's see where they go. Or if it's going to be a big range fake test. Nope, they teleport right onto the point. However, Reinhardt killing Flex God. Group Therapy seems absolutely ready for it, and immediately punishing Group Therapy from a bit of an obvious play. Immediately gets called out, cleans up. Respite just going to exit pick on a Mangoni, but that's not going to be enough. And it will be a cleanup and a lot of ult charge, particularly for Reinhardt, who immediately neutralized that Lucio. And we do see Steve swapping over to the Tracer. You try that Sim strat once, it doesn't work. Things happen. So Siege looking good. Will have a shatter much earlier than pretty much any other team's ults. Group Therapy getting ready for their next attack run. You see both teams extending cooldowns, just trying to fight the poke damage, trying to force out some cooldowns. We do see that Lucio advantage coming in for Group Therapy, trying to put pressure on a Reinhardt, forcing out that Immortality field. Respite getting kill on a Mangoni. Rose trying to get a pick. Reinhardt able to turn that damage into a pick on a Clean Drive. And we do see just a massive shatter from Reinhardt and clean up once again for Siege, showing that defensive positioning advantage. Despite that early pressure and forcing of that Immortality field, Brugge was able to keep Reinhardt alive. And Reinhardt got so much damage, as well as a follow-up from Rose on that Doomfist. And it's still Group Therapy desperately trying to find an answer to this stalwart Siege defense. Siege now having access to their Grab Flex. Only a Coalescence right now for Group Therapy, close to their own Grab Flex. Group Therapy, once again, just going to rotate right onto the point if it's going to be given to them for free by Siege. Siege, however, with a very spread defensive comp. Sledgehammer, however, getting picked on an Evil Zer. Reinhardt killing off speed, both teams trading off the actions, which does benefit the offense. You do see Brugge force out using Immortality. Straight kill count from both sides, both teams. Flame Trap, however, with the kill on Mangoni, Earthly on the kill on Reinhardt, it will be Group Therapy cleaning up. Rose not able to turn it with their ultimate, and it will just be clean up here. Rose getting an exit kill onto that Reinhardt is pretty strong. You could see oh no, with Flexside getting kill on a Rose, with just a Sigma here, it should be clean up here for Group Therapy. Group Therapy should be able to take point A. It's unlikely we'll see a recontest from Siege. Siege should just be sending up their point B defense. A Shatter and a Beat still online for Group Therapy. The potential to snowball is there.
Objective lost.
Siege taking the high ground. Hopefully they won't see 9 the way that Group Therapy did, but you never know. Group Therapy now figuring out their angle of attack. They do have that speed advantage, however, much less sustained because they don't have access to that Immortality field, that ever important ultimate on a cooldown. And it is, once again, looks like just a push down mid. Oh, no, it will be a low ground rotation here from Group Therapy, trying to force uncomfortable positioning from Siege. Siege, however, ready to answer it. Reinhardt immediately drops. Rose on that Junkrat. Reinhardt, once again, being forced out to use the cooldown. Reinhardt incredibly caught out of position, even with that Immortality field, and a huge opening pick here for Group Therapy. Rose, are we going to pick onto Frizzy? Mangoni popping that rally, and the support's going down fast and furious here. Both teams exchanging cooldowns, it does benefit the defense. Rose getting picked, that Junkrat just completely unanswered. Flex God, however, eventually answering Rose. Reinhardt with the kill on the Flex God. You have to imagine that Siege will be able to hold this defense with Group Therapy having those long spawns. And it will be a messy but eventual fight win here for Siege. We saw what happens when you don't answer Junkrat on the high ground. Bad things. Group Therapy really not able to have an answer to it, despite that opening pick. You know, Reinhardt pulling a lot of resources from Brugge. It's not the first time Brugge has had to throw that inward just to keep Reinhardt alive, because Reinhardt got caught out. However, you know, Group Therapy not able to capitalize on it, replenish it, so... With 4 ultimates, however, against just 2 or 3 actually coming here from Siege, it will be a bit of an ult showdown. You do see immediately the Coalescence and the answering Grab Flex, both support ults close here from Group Therapy early. Reinhardt with a massive shatter. However, not able to have any follow-up. Rose, a pick on a Clever Drive. Oh, and an unlucky Junkrat death kill on a Claw. Oh, Frizzy with a very ambitious Reaper ultimate. See, we're getting a pick on a Reinhardt, more than killing themselves. Evils are getting picked on a Flex God, however. It'll be interesting to see if Group Therapy thinks they can push this. Steve with a pick on Mangoni. Rose with a pick on the Despite. Both teams trading back and forth once again. Evils are a pick on the Frisbee. This should be another hold here for Siege as they're able to use those defensive spawns once again. Group Therapy is getting the picks, but not able to kill enough to really make it work. You know, and you gotta wonder if maybe they wish they could have spaced those support ultimates or more, or if Frizzy had maybe held on to that spin. Reinhardt very much showing that aggressive Reinhardt play. Does give you a lot of shatters, but sometimes you can't fill it. Rose with the tire here, trying to get some value out of it, maybe at least force out a cooldown or something. No, hover. Oh, an excellent flank angle and gets a pick on the Respite. Oh, you hate to see it if you're Group Therapy. You just got to reset. You can't push that without the Sigma. You know, those Junkrat tire kills, they happen. They feel bad, but you got to accept them. And Brugge will get that Ant Matrix online. Will be probably both supports online for Siege once they get it. They'll make it very hard for Group Therapy to get value, especially with just the Bob there for offense. And regardless, Siege will have a better time than Group Therapy. Group Therapy, right now they're pushing it right down mid. Did you see the Bob immediately used there by Steve, putting pressure on the ground. Reinhardt again caught out, being absolutely sworn by Group Therapy. Frizzy a pick on the Brugge, so you can't keep Reinhardt alive. a massive opening. 2 picks here, 3 picks here from Group Therapy, and this should be a win, especially if Eagles are whipping that pulse bomb. And it should just be an easy cleanup. We just see the coalescence here. Respite, pick on a Rose. There is a massive respawn advantage on Hanamura. It's so hard to clean it. Clawwow with the pick on a Mangoni. It should be a cleanup here. Briga, though, with the pick on Steve. This could be the beginning of the turning point here for Siege. Siege's coming back. We just see the ultimates coming out from Mormon. Let's see if that's able to kill him. Just go Flex God. So Siege may be able to actually pull this back. Group Therapy, able to get so many opening picks, but Siege with that amazing defensive advantage is able to turn this around. Reinhardt with the pick on a Mangoni, but with both supports down, it's going to be hard for Group Therapy to keep pressure onto the point. And Immortality Field from Burger just to keep the team up. Respite with a vicious ultimate does get 2 kills. This could still be winnable for Group Therapy, even with the defensive spawns. However, with Mormon to pick on a Respite, it's hard for Group Therapy to keep pressure on the point. Crazy pick on a Reinhardt, but the defensive spawns are so strong on Hanamura. That Siege here with 5, Group Therapy here not with it yet. Crazy with the pick on a Mormon. Flex God engages the B. Group Therapy, Frenzy with the double kill. Group Therapy releasing to his Frenzy with the triple kill. Group Therapy might be able to pull this off in overtime with the Tracer going down. Just Reinhardt on the ball trying to solve the point. Ball and pick on the Evilzer, and it looks like it should be Group Therapy's fight. A long, incredibly long sustained fight that you would assume the defense wins. But Group Therapy able to use their ultimates, able to regroup, and able to keep the pressure on this point. Now Siege just throwing bodies onto the point, trying to keep this overtime burning. We do see, however, an excellent eat by Respite on Evilzer's Pulse Bomb. Flex God also with the punish on Evilzer, and this should be Group Therapy taking the point, drawable. Group Therapy, an incredibly long, drawn-out fight. Basically the last 2 minutes of the fight were just Group Therapy putting pressure, forcing out their respawns, and even though that defensive respawn, obviously incredibly huge on Hanamura, Group Therapy eventually able to force that take. If you are Siege, however, you do have basically an unlosable map. You have a minute 25 to try to take 33%. And it is yet to be seen how they will adapt. Minute 25 is nice. However, not a lot of time to build up your ultimates. And it took Siege a while to set up their offense. While they did eventually end up taking first point on their first fight, it was a long setup. Group Therapy still believing in the Frizzy Torb. I guess they believe that the Torb damage is worth it. We've yet to really see it pay off. We've seen Siege really able to play around it. And once again, it's going to be on Steve to try to answer Rose's Pharah. Rose has gotten so much value on that Pharah for so many of these maps. It's hard for an Ashe to try to 1v2. And we haven't really seen Group Therapy take advantage of that frontline battle that they should theoretically win. Flex God again on the Zen. And the Bat Mercy coming out here for Group Therapy, for Siege. Siege running out on the Reinhardt versus the Orisa on the side of Group Therapy. Both teams just throwing out their cooldowns. And a long rotation coming out here for Siege. They're trying to force an awkward rotation out while the Pharah goes around flanking on the back. Trying to kind of surround Group Therapy. Group Therapy, though, does see that Pharah with a kill on Frizzy's turret. Reinhardt with an interesting flank shatter. Forcing out that Immortality Field early from Clawwow. Oh, you hate to see it. Immortality Field goes down. Everybody on Group Therapy is so low, and Siege immediately capitalizes. Steve, though, the pick on a Reinhardt, this could be turnable. However, so much damage coming out here from Siege. Group Therapy not able to hold on to the point, and it will be Group Therapy taking point A, taking the map, and I believe taking the series. Yes, it will be a 3-1 victory here for Siege. We saw a lot of close maps, however, Siege really just able to kind of have that extra gear, and we never really saw Group Therapy have an answer for Rose's different projectile heroes, particularly the Pharah. We do see a play of the game here for Mormon. There's so much damage that's coming out from Siege the entire game that Group Therapy just wasn't really able to match. Obviously I'm pointing to the compositions as what mainly sticks out to me. However, there's more to it than that. Obviously, a lot of DPS is about how your team enables you. And one more result, looks like I Need Healing 3-0 disbanded, so the only non-3 Overwatch we had today was this match, which was a 3-1 for Siege. But overall, we did see Siege really able to use their positioning and their DPS advantage to really put that pressure onto Group Therapy, and it is Group Therapy It's gonna go down, regroup, really think about it. However, does, Siege, a lot of messy wins, particularly